Instead of a boy or a girl, gender-neutral babies are known as babies. Babies are babies without a known sex. They say the gender part comes later and is left up to the child.
We did not assign a sex at birth, which means when they were born, they had genitals and we know what they are. We just chose to acknowledge that those genitals don't indicate anything about gender.
Sparrow's parents decided to raise their baby gender neutral, meaning Sparrow will decide gender when older. Even Sparrow's birth certificate says sex unknown.
The term the media's used for this is not a baby, but a baby. Arlo, how old is the baby now?
Oh, Sparrow's actually going to be 4 in February.
Has Sparrow decided as...
Oh, a gender?
Yes.
Oh, that's a great question. Sparrow is in a point of learning and exploration with a lot of things, including gender. Language with children at 4 is very, they're figuring it out. And so currently, Sparrow uses he for everyone. No, it doesn't matter what their pronouns are, and we mentioned it. They just call everyone he, rather they don't conjugate it correctly. They don't use him or his or anything. Just he for everything. So we joke that he is Sparrow's preferred pronoun because that's what they use for everyone. As far as for themselves, though, they're not coming consistently saying, "I would like, I want to be a boy or a girl," or "I feel like I'm non-binary." We don't have heavy, in-depth, overt communications. It's not like every morning I wake them up and say, "All right, what's your gender today?" hoping they'll finally give me an answer. So it doesn't come up like that.
Okay. You decided this was important to leave unspecified, undetermined. Why?
Because of the fact that gender is so social and it is such a social construct. Now, we say we shouldn't interact with one another differently because of our genders. Everyone deserves the same respect and treatment. But it has been scientifically proven that children are interacted with very differently based on whether they are assumed to be a boy or a girl. Girl children are held more, boy children are given, mechanical toys more often, all of these kind of examples, anecdotes. And I felt it was important for Sparrow to get the chance to figure themselves out without all of that pressure, intervention, and programming.
And if somebody asks you, do you have a child? And you say yes. And if they say, what do you have? What do you say?
When people ask, is a child a boy or a girl, oftentimes what they're trying to do is connect to you. And they're trying to connect to the child. So what I do is I give them some other bit of information about my child. Is your child a boy or a girl? They're 3.5. Is your child a boy or a girl? Well, actually, they just started preschool. I give something intimate and fun and special so that they know something about this child that is more relevant than what's in their pants. Is your child a boy or a girl? They're 3.5. Is your child a boy or a girl? Well, actually, they just started preschool. I give something intimate and fun and special so that they know something about this child that is more relevant than what's in their pants.
So you think it would be toxic to label the child one way or the other? It may be divided on this great gender debate, but it's important to keep the dialogue open. And that's what I started out this whole episode with, is that I wanted us to have a safe place to be able to talk about this. I want to talk about some final thoughts when we come back. I'm back with this group talking about gender pronouns. Now, Dr. Dembo, you say it's fine if people want gender roles, just don't project them onto others.
I was saying that in the context of, a marriage or a commitment like that. It's okay to have strict gender roles for a man and a woman if you find each other, because then it's going to work out real great. That relationship will. And then you find something that's not conforming and you find each other and that works out great. And it's not a threat to the other person.
At the same time, too, I think that people should be allowed to have boundaries around who's in their space, too. And if you have people who are constantly putting you into a box that you do not identify with, if people are constantly seeing you in a way that you are not being seen and stuff, too, it's exhausting. It's absolutely exhausting, right? You have to imagine that. So for us, if we don't hang out with certain people who don't understand us, that's okay. But we will try to keep an open conversation going.
Yeah, I would think you wouldn't seek those people out.
Right.
I wouldn't think you'd get up every day and go find Matt Walsh and spend
Right, exactly.
and spend the day with him. But I would think he would be somebody that you would want to have an ongoing dialogue with because y'all disagree. And it seems like we should just keep the dialogue going and hopefully find some middle ground.
I have a question. Arlo, you mentioned that you don't have your child discussing pronouns or figuring out their pronouns yet. And yet in school, our kids are being asked what their pronoun is. I'm confused about how that works. And then there's always this fluidity right around what pronoun you are each day. So it's constantly changing. How confusing.
I think
For
what it
kids.
is. Oh, sorry. I think what it is that I sympathize with the hurt and distress that I sense from you all. I also wouldn't want my child to learn things from their teachers at school that were topics I was uncomfortable with or I didn't know how I'd want to talk about them. Your children are going to need to know how to navigate a world in which non-binary and transgender people exist.
This is a great conversation to have at home, out of the school. This should not be part of the curriculum.
We're out of time, but I thank everyone for